In a galaxy teeming with trade and opportunity, humanity had recently found its place among the stars. The expansion into interstellar commerce brought with it access to technologies, cultures, and practices that stretched the imagination. Among these was the controversial trade of alien mercenaries, warriors from distant worlds, their skills and allegiance sold to the highest bidder. It was a practice steeped in both intrigue and moral ambiguity, offering promises of protection and power while raising uncomfortable questions about freedom and agency. For one Earthling, the allure of the interstellar markets was irresistible. They weren't a soldier, a politician, or a billionaire entrepreneur. They were an ordinary individual driven by an extraordinary goal. Their life had been marked by a series of personal losses that left them yearning for purpose, a reason to continue amidst the chaos of an expanding universe. The decision to purchase a warrior wasn't made lightly. It wasn't about power or prestige. It was about survival, and perhaps something more profound that they didn't yet fully understand. The interstellar marketplace was overwhelming, a sprawling nexus of alien species, advanced technologies, and rare treasures. Amidst the chaos, the Earthling's attention was drawn to a particular auction. The description was vague. A warrior from a race shrouded in mystery, their skills unmatched and their loyalty unyielding once bound. The curiosity was too strong to resist, and before they could reconsider, the Earthling found themselves bidding against an array of galactic figures. The stakes were high, the price even higher, but they emerged victorious. The warrior was a towering figure, their presence both commanding and enigmatic. Shackled but unbroken, they exuded an air of defiance, as though daring anyone to question their strength. The Earthling couldn't help but wonder what circumstances had led this warrior to the auction block. Was it betrayal, defeat, or perhaps something far more complex? The transaction was completed quickly, with little ceremony, and the warrior was handed over, their future tied to the Earthling in a way neither fully understood. The initial moments after the purchase were tense. The warrior regarded the Earthling with a mixture of disdain and curiosity, their pride clearly wounded by the circumstances. The Earthling, in turn, struggled to reconcile their decision. They hadn't expected to feel the weight of responsibility so acutely. Owning another sentient being, even under the guise of a contract, was an ethical quagmire they hadn't fully considered. Yet, beneath the tension, there was an unspoken acknowledgement of their shared predicament. Neither had chosen the situation willingly, but both understood the need to adapt. The journey away from the marketplace was marked by silence, each party lost in their thoughts. The Earthling couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was the beginning of something far greater than a simple transaction. The warrior, for their part, seemed to study the Earthling with a critical eye, perhaps gauging their worthiness or searching for signs of weakness. It was a dynamic built on unspoken questions and unresolved tension, a fragile balance that could tip in any direction. As they arrived at their destination, the Earthling began to contemplate the implications of their actions. What did it mean to own a warrior whose loyalty was dictated by a contract rather than choice? Could trust be built under such circumstances, or would their relationship remain one of obligation and resentment? The warrior's silence offered no clues, leaving the Earthling to wrestle with these questions alone. It was clear that their journey together would not be simple, but it was equally clear that it was only just beginning. The purchase was complete, the terms finalized, but the bond between the Earthling and the alien warrior was far from formed. Both carried the weight of their respective pasts, their paths now intertwined in ways neither could fully comprehend. Unbeknownst to them, this unlikely partnership would set into motion events that would ripple across the galaxy, challenging their perceptions of destiny, loyalty, and the true meaning of freedom. The alien warrior's past was one of legend, tragedy, and defiance. They hailed from a race once known for their unmatched prowess in battle and their unshakable code of honor. Their people had built an empire that spanned countless systems, not through conquest, but through alliances forged by mutual respect and strength. Yet, like many great civilizations, their downfall came not from external threats but from within. A betrayal from their own ranks had fractured their unity, leaving them vulnerable to opportunistic forces that sought to exploit their weakened state. The warrior had been a leader, a protector, and a symbol of their people's resilience, until they were captured and sold into servitude. For the Earthling, understanding the warrior's history was a slow and challenging process. The warrior's pride made them reluctant to share their story, and when they did, it was in fragments, often accompanied by a bitterness that revealed the depth of their pain. These glimpses into their past painted a picture of someone who had lost everything: their home, their people, and their purpose. The Earthling began to see their initial purchase in a new light, not as a transaction, but as an opportunity to help the warrior reclaim what had been taken from them. Despite this growing understanding, their relationship was far from harmonious. The warrior's disdain for their situation was evident, and their interactions with the Earthling were often marked by tension. The cultural divide between them only amplified the challenges. The warrior came from a society where strength and honor were paramount, where decisions were made with clarity and conviction. The Earthling, on the other hand, approached problems with a practicality and flexibility that the warrior found frustrating. These differences led to frequent misunderstandings, each side struggling to see the world through the other's perspective. The Earthling, while sympathetic to the warrior's plight, was also unaccustomed to dealing with someone so fiercely independent. They were used to finding solutions through collaboration and compromise, but the warrior's stoic demeanor and unwillingness to accept assistance made this difficult. At the same time, the warrior saw the Earthling's attempts at understanding as weakness, mistaking their compassion for naivety. It was a dynamic fraught with conflict, yet it also held the seeds of growth. Both were forced to confront their assumptions, slowly chipping away at the barriers that separated them. The Earthling's persistence began to yield results. They showed the warrior small acts of kindness, gestures that, while seemingly insignificant, carried weight in their simplicity. A meal shared without expectation, a word of encouragement offered without ulterior motive. These moments began to erode the warrior's guarded exterior. Though they would never admit it, the warrior found themselves questioning their own perceptions. Perhaps the Earthling was not as weak as they had assumed. Perhaps there was strength in their willingness to connect, even when met with resistance. For the warrior, this growing sense of vulnerability was unsettling. They had spent years building walls to protect themselves, to survive in a galaxy that had stripped them of their freedom and dignity. Allowing someone else into their world, even in the smallest of ways, felt like a risk. Yet, the Earthling's actions spoke of sincerity, a trait the warrior had rarely encountered in their years of captivity. It was a slow process, but the warrior began to see the Earthling as more than just another captor. They began to see them as an ally, perhaps even a kindred spirit. The Earthling, too, was undergoing a transformation. They had entered into this arrangement with practical intentions, but their growing bond with the warrior was changing their perspective. What had started as a means to an end was becoming something far more personal. The warrior's struggles resonated with them, reminding them of their own battles and losses. This connection fueled their determination to help the warrior, not out of obligation, but because they believed it was the right thing to do. As they spent more time together, the Earthling began to uncover the warrior's hidden depths. Beneath their hardened exterior lay a wealth of knowledge and insight, much of it tied to their culture and history. The warrior's stories, though often shared reluctantly, revealed a civilization that valued honor, resilience, and the pursuit of excellence. These values resonated with the Earthling, who began to see parallels between the warrior's people and humanity. Despite their differences, there was a common thread that connected them, a desire to find meaning and purpose in a chaotic universe. The bond between the Earthling and the warrior remained fragile, but it was growing stronger with each passing day. Their interactions, though still marked by moments of tension, began to shift toward mutual respect. The Earthling learned to navigate the warrior's pride, offering support without undermining their sense of autonomy. The warrior, in turn, began to appreciate the Earthling's determination and adaptability, qualities that reminded them of the strength their own people once possessed. Together, they started to forge a partnership built not on obligation, but on choice. It was an unspoken agreement, a recognition that their paths were now intertwined. For the Earthling, this meant taking on a responsibility they had not anticipated, helping the warrior rediscover their purpose and perhaps their place in the galaxy. For the warrior, it meant letting go of the past, if only slightly, and allowing themselves to trust again. The journey was far from over, and the challenges they faced were only beginning. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, there was a growing sense of possibility. The Earthling and the warrior were two individuals from vastly different worlds, brought together by circumstance. In each other, they found not just an ally, but the beginnings of something greater, a partnership that had the potential to change their fates and perhaps the fate of the galaxy itself. The partnership between the Earthling and the alien warrior began to evolve as they faced challenges together. What had once been a tenuous relationship based on obligation transformed into a fragile but growing alliance. The external pressures of the galaxy, whether through minor disputes or the occasional threat, forced them to rely on one another. In these moments, their differences became less of a hindrance and more of an asset. The Earthling's adaptability complemented the warrior's strength and precision, creating a dynamic that neither had anticipated. Through these shared experiences, the Earthlings started to notice the nuances of the warrior's character. Beneath their hardened exterior and stoic demeanor lay a being capable of remarkable empathy and wisdom. It became clear that the warrior was not simply a fighter, but a leader whose people had relied on them for guidance and protection. The depth of their knowledge extended beyond combat. They carried a wealth of cultural and historical understanding that hinted at the greatness of their civilization before its downfall. The Earthling was particularly struck by the warrior's unwavering commitment to their values. Despite everything they had endured, betrayal, captivity, and humiliation, they remained fiercely loyal to the principles that had once defined their people. Honor, duty, and resilience were not just words to the warrior. They were a way of life. The Earthling found this unwavering dedication both inspiring and humbling, sparking a desire to help the warrior reclaim what had been lost. The warrior, in turn, began to see the Earthling in a new light. Initially dismissed as naive and insignificant, the Earthling revealed qualities that surprised the warrior. Their persistence, creativity, and willingness to face adversity with determination resonated deeply. The warrior recognized in the Earthling a potential that mirrored the qualities they had admired in their own kind. Slowly, their respect for the Earthling grew, replacing the disdain that had once colored their interactions. As the bond between them deepened, the warrior began to share more about their past. These revelations were not easy. They were tinged with pain and regret, each story a reminder of what had been lost. Yet, the Earthling's genuine interest and lack of judgment created a space where the warrior felt safe enough to open up. Through these conversations, the Earthling learned about the warrior's people, their achievements, their struggles, and their ultimate downfall. It was a story of greatness tarnished by internal divisions, a cautionary tale about the dangers of losing sight of unity and purpose. The Earthling's curiosity extended beyond the warrior's past. They wanted to understand the warrior's present, their motivations, fears, and hopes. What did the warrior truly want? Was it revenge, redemption, or simply a chance to survive? The answers were not always clear, even to the warrior themselves. Yet, through their dialogue, a shared goal began to emerge: to ensure that the warrior's existence held meaning, not as a servant or tool, but as an individual with agency and purpose. This growing understanding was not without its challenges. The warrior's pride often clashed with the Earthling's tendency to offer help, leading to moments of tension. The Earthlings struggled to balance their desire to assist with the need to respect the warrior's autonomy. Similarly, the warrior had to confront their own prejudices and learn to see the Earthling not as a captor, but as an equal. These moments of conflict, though difficult, ultimately strengthened their relationship. Each compromise, each act of trust, brought them closer to a genuine partnership. The turning point in their journey came when the warrior revealed a secret they had guarded closely. They were not just a symbol of their people's strength, but a key to their potential revival. Hidden within the warrior's memories and abilities was knowledge that could restore their civilization or, at the very least, preserve its legacy. This revelation transformed the Earthlings' perspective on their relationship. Helping the warrior was no longer just a personal mission. It was an opportunity to play a role in something far greater. For the warrior, this disclosure was both a relief and a risk. Trusting the Earthling with such a significant truth required vulnerability, something they had avoided for years. Yet, the Earthlings' unwavering support gave them the confidence to take that leap of faith. Together, they began to explore the possibilities of what this knowledge could achieve. The Earthlings' resourcefulness and the warrior's expertise combined to create a synergy that neither had experienced before. Their partnership began to inspire change in both of them. The Earthling, once driven by personal loss and survival, found a renewed sense of purpose in helping the warrior. They discovered strengths within themselves they hadn't known existed, fueled by a desire to see the warrior succeed. The warrior, in turn, began to shed the weight of their bitterness and isolation. Through their bond with the Earthling, they started to believe in the possibility of a future worth fighting for. This mutual transformation was not without cost. Both the Earthling and the warrior had to confront their own fears and insecurities, often finding themselves outside their comfort zones. The warrior had to relinquish some of their independence, trusting the Earthling to act in their best interest. The Earthling, on the other hand, had to face the moral complexities of their role, constantly questioning whether they were doing enough to honor the warrior's autonomy and dignity. As they continued their journey, the Earthling and the warrior began to realize that their partnership was more than a coincidence. The circumstances that had brought them together, though seemingly random, now felt like the first steps in a greater destiny. They were not just two individuals navigating the galaxy. They were a team with the potential to change the course of history. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Together, they were stronger than they had ever been alone. The bond they had forged, though still fragile, was a testament to the power of connection. In a galaxy defined by division and conflict, their partnership stood as a beacon of hope, a reminder that even the most unlikely alliances could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Both the Earthling and the warrior knew that the challenges ahead would be immense, but they also knew they had found something worth fighting for. The fragile alliance between the Earthling and the alien warrior faced its most significant test when external forces threatened to undo their progress. A growing conflict, rooted in the warrior's past, and the Earthling's newfound involvement in interstellar politics, forced them into a confrontation that neither could have anticipated. What began as a personal journey to find purpose and redemption now intersected with larger forces that demanded action. Their bond was no longer a private matter. It had become a focal point for events that would shape the galaxy's future. The warrior's past, once a source of personal pain, was revealed to have broader implications. The betrayal that had shattered their civilization had not only left their people vulnerable, but had also created enemies who sought to exploit the remnants of their culture. These adversaries, now emboldened by the warrior's diminished status, emerged as a direct threat. Their goal was not just to eliminate the warrior, but to ensure that the knowledge and potential they carried would never be realized. For the Earthling, this revelation underscored the gravity of their role. They were no longer just a companion or ally. They were a key player in a conflict that demanded courage and decisiveness. The Earthlings' approach to the situation was shaped by their innate resourcefulness and determination. They refused to allow the warrior to face these challenges alone, despite the risks involved. This unwavering support forced the warrior to confront their own doubts. For years, they had relied on their strength and skills to survive, dismissing the idea that anyone else could truly understand or assist them. The Earthlings' actions, however, demonstrated a level of commitment and ingenuity that the warrior could no longer ignore. It was a turning point that solidified their partnership, transforming it from a reluctant alliance into a true collaboration. As the conflict escalated, the stakes became increasingly personal. The Earthlings' involvement brought unintended consequences, drawing the attention of powerful factions that viewed their partnership with suspicion. To these groups, the Earthling represented a wild card, an unknown element that could disrupt the fragile balance of power. This scrutiny placed them in a precarious position, forcing them to navigate a web of alliances and rivalries with little margin for error. The warrior, recognizing the Earthlings' vulnerability, became fiercely protective, channeling their skills and experience into safeguarding their companion. The challenges they faced were not solely external. The pressure of the situation revealed cracks in their relationship, as both the Earthling and the warrior grappled with their own fears and insecurities. The Earthling questioned whether they were truly capable of living up to the warrior's expectations, while the warrior struggled to reconcile their need for autonomy with their growing reliance on their companion. These internal conflicts, though painful, ultimately strengthened their bond. Through honest conversations and shared experiences, they found a way to confront their vulnerabilities together, emerging as a more unified team. The resolution of the conflict required both the Earthling and the warrior to push beyond their limits. The warrior's strength and combat prowess were essential in navigating the immediate threats, but it was the Earthling's ability to think creatively and adapt that provided the strategic edge they needed. Their combined efforts showcased the unique strengths of their partnership, proving that their differences were not liabilities but assets. Together, they accomplished what neither could have achieved alone, turning the tide against their adversaries and securing a hard-earned victory. This triumph, however, came at a cost. The conflict had left them both physically and emotionally scarred, and the path forward remained uncertain. The warrior, though vindicated in their efforts, recognized that their journey was far from over. The knowledge they carried, while powerful, was also dangerous, and its implications extended far beyond their own survival. For the Earthling, the experience was a stark reminder of the complexities of the galaxy and the sacrifices required to make a difference. Despite these challenges, their bond emerged stronger than ever. The trust and respect they had built through their shared struggles became the foundation for a partnership that could withstand even the most daunting obstacles. The warrior's initial skepticism toward the Earthling had transformed into genuine admiration, while the Earthling's perception of the warrior had evolved from awe to a deep and abiding respect. Together, they had proven that their alliance was not a matter of convenience, but a force to be reckoned with. As the dust settled, both the Earthling and the warrior began to reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. For the warrior, the experience reaffirmed their belief in the values that had once defined their people: honor, resilience, and the pursuit of a greater purpose. The Earthling, meanwhile, found a renewed sense of purpose in their role as a bridge between worlds, embracing the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. Their partnership had not only changed their own lives, but had also set the stage for a new chapter in interstellar history, one defined by collaboration and shared vision. The aftermath of the conflict brought a sense of uneasy calm. The warrior and the Earthling had emerged victorious, but their victory felt like the beginning of something far larger rather than an endpoint. The galaxy, vast and teeming with uncertainty, now seemed to hold its breath as their actions began to ripple outward. Both knew that their journey was far from over. The bonds they had forged and the decisions they had made had set a new course, not just for themselves, but for the countless others who would be affected by their choices. For the warrior, the journey had been a process of rediscovery. Years of captivity had dulled their sense of purpose, leaving behind a shell of the leader they had once been. But through their partnership with the Earthling, they had begun to rebuild that foundation. The warrior's identity was no longer confined to their past. They now carried the weight of their people's legacy with renewed pride and determination. They were no longer just a symbol of what had been lost, but a beacon of what could be regained. The Earthling, too, had undergone a profound transformation. What had started as a venture into the unknown had become a deeply personal mission. They had proven to themselves and others that courage was not defined by strength alone, but by the willingness to act in the face of uncertainty. Their experiences had taught them the value of empathy and the importance of connection, lessons that would guide them as they stepped into a more prominent role in the galaxy's unfolding narrative. The partnership between the two had become a cornerstone of their respective growth. It was no longer defined by power dynamics or necessity, but by mutual respect and a shared vision. They had learned to trust one another in ways that transcended words, their bond forged through adversity and tempered by triumph. This connection gave them both a sense of stability in a galaxy that seemed to thrive on chaos. Their alliance also began to draw attention from others. The story of an Earthling and a warrior from a fallen civilization working together to overcome impossible odds captured the imagination of many. They became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the most unlikely partnerships could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Their actions inspired others to seek out their own paths to unity and collaboration, creating a ripple effect that began to challenge the status quo. The warriors' unique knowledge and abilities became a focal point for this new movement. Their insights into their people's history and technology were invaluable, offering solutions to problems that had long plagued other civilizations. However, the warrior was careful to ensure that this knowledge was shared responsibly. They had seen the consequences of unchecked ambition and sought to avoid repeating those mistakes. The Earthling's perspective proved invaluable in this regard, offering a grounding influence that helped balance the warrior's zeal with practical wisdom. As they worked together to navigate these challenges, their relationship deepened further. They came to see each other not just as allies, but as equals, their strengths and weaknesses complementing one another in ways that neither could have anticipated. The Earthling's creativity and adaptability became the perfect counterpart to the warrior's discipline and strategic acumen. Together, they began to tackle problems on a scale that neither could have managed alone. This newfound sense of purpose extended beyond their personal mission. They started to explore ways to bring others into their efforts, seeking out like-minded individuals and groups who shared their vision of a more interconnected galaxy. Their journey became less about their own survival and more about creating a lasting impact. They understood that their actions had the potential to shape the future, and they were determined to use that influence wisely. As they moved forward, they encountered new challenges and opportunities, each one testing the limits of their partnership. Yet, through it all, they remained steadfast in their commitment to one another and to their shared cause. Their bond, forged in the crucible of conflict, became their greatest strength, a source of resilience that carried them through even the darkest moments. In the end, their journey was not about a single destination, but about the choices they made along the way. The warrior and the Earthling had both been shaped by their experiences, their identities intertwined in ways that defied the boundaries of culture and species. They had proven that even in a galaxy defined by division, unity was possible. Their story became a testament to the power of collaboration, a reminder that the greatest achievements often come from the most unexpected places. The legacy they began to build was one of hope and possibility. It was not perfect, nor was it free from challenges, but it was a start. Together, they had taken the first steps toward a future that was greater than either of them could have imagined. It was a future defined not by the circumstances of their past, but by the choices they made to shape what lay ahead. Their destiny, once uncertain, now burned brightly, illuminating a path for others to follow.